Hello, this is Mikkel from Meteorology Semester 3, and here I will present my hand in 5 for procedural programming. I've started my entire code with including a few things: my IO stream, IO manip, and and my string library. And then I've also set the program to be using the standard library as well. These are just some things I need in order to make everything run smoothly. Then here I've made my struct for my hero. It included a few informations about him, his X positioning and his Y positioning and his health pool. And that's basically just the hero. And down below I've made a struct for the enemy, and the enemy only have a health pool. They don't really have any specific Y and X position in the maze, because they're mainly just stationary and put around in corners in the maze for the hero to fight against while struggling through the maze. This time I've decided to use void for my main instead of the integer, because then I can skip using return 0, because it's basically the same as using return 0 and using a void. And here I have a quick little cout with a string opening the whole scene, so to speak. And down here I have my array. That's basically my whole maze, 10 times 15. And all the blank spot is the passage where the player can move around. And all the numbers of 2, they are the enemies. And every time the hero beats any enemy, he will regain some health. But if he flee in the middle of combat, he's not getting anything in return. So down here I used my new struct hero to create my actual player in the game. And here I assigned him to have 108 health, and I put him to be starting at positioning X1 and Y1, which is up here in the maze. And down here I create my bad guy and assign his health to be 0, because mainly I don't want all the enemies to be exactly the same, so I put them later on to have some randomized health depending on, well, not really depending on anything, but they have random health when the encounters with them begins. Down here I make my movement key and I put it to be 0, because I don't really want it to return anything. And here I have basically my whole game. It's one big while loop. And as long as my key is not not equals to Q, then it's just gonna keep running. But whenever I press Q in my game, it's gonna quit the game. So here I print out my maze. I have my character texture, which I put to print out a char 2, which is basically just a smiley. And my char texture is some kind of solid block from the ASI table with the value of 219. It looks really smooth and smooth together when all the walls, or in this case I'm not really using walls, I'm using pitfalls. So whenever the player actually hit any of those, so to speak, walls, then the game is gonna quit, because then he loses. It's about being a bit, how to say, a bit clear on your moves. Don't make any mistakes, otherwise you fail. So this section prints out the maze, and down here Just to say it again, everything is happening in the while loop. So down here I have my hero, and I've made a switch case to for every key you use to move, which is S to move down and W to move up, and A for moving to the right, and D for moving to the left in the maze. And what's actually happening is that every time my if statement finds out that Jack's Y positioning +1 and his X positioning is not equals to 1, then it's gonna multiply multiply with 1. And same thing is happening down here. It just subtracts, multiply, and subtracts, because the A and D is moving on the x-axis and the W and S is moving on the y-axis. And up here I have a little display of my hero Jack's health, and a quick showcase of how the player is going to make his moves while in the client, so he's never going to forget it. As well as the assignment said, at all times the options to the hero should be shown. So down here I have made my bad guy encounter, which is the enemy, and here I just state that the enemy is equals to 2 in the maze, so the whole client console thing knows that the character 2 up in my maze is an object. And here I put my bad guy's health equals to random modulus 50 plus 50. So I have some random health. While Jack is then I've put another while loop in. Well, it tells Jack's HP or health and the bad guy's health. And every time Jack doesn't attack, or I mean every time the enemy attacks Jack, then he does random damage, because it would be kind of silly just to have, or I think it would be silly just to have a flat amount of damage. It would be more interesting with some random numbers. Then the bad guy hits you and you die, Jack, if your health reaches 0. And then the game is just gonna quit if you die. Down here I've made my encounter, my fight back encounter, where you can press F to do an attack with random damage, and whenever you kill an enemy, it's gonna trace out Jack wins. And down here I have my walls, where it basically just quits the game if you hit any wall, because then you're game over. And then I have a quick little see out that comes out whenever the program closes down. And let's see the whole thing running. So here we have the maze. Now I press S, S, D, D, S, S, and here this number 2, that's an enemy. So we move toward the enemy, and the bad guy hits me. But I'm not stepping on the enemy, I'm moving toward him. So I can press F to fight, and then it's possible to see down here, Jack hits, the enemy strikes back, so Jack takes some damage, but the enemy does as well. So you press F, and Jack hits another time, and press F, and you have defeated the enemy. So now you actually stood where the enemy stood, and you can freely move up and down. And the same thing is basically just happening for every enemy you meet. Oh, we can also just quickly show what's happening whenever I hit a wall. So now I'm standing next to a wall, I press D to move to the right, and then it's see out, you died from the new fall, game over, John, because then the game is over. And that's it. That's